My speech is not intended to show any disrespect to President Obama or the esteemed office that he holds. I have great respect for both.
Our guest is incensed with opinion toward Benjamin Netanyahu's congressional speech. So much so that he took out an ad in Sunday's New York Times that called National Security Advisor Susan Rice blind to genocide. Welcome back, founder of This World, the Values Network, and noted author Rabbi Shmuley Boteach. Rabbi, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Ed.
Rabbi, why take out the ad in the first place?
Well, I was traveling in Europe last week where I was interviewing the best friend of Anne Frank, the most famous victim of the Holocaust, the 70th anniversary of whose death is this week. And I suddenly saw Susan Rice saying on national television on Charlie Rose that the very idea of the Prime Minister of Israel speaking about the Iran deal could destroy the fabric of U.S.-Israel ties. Now, this is a nation that experienced a genocide, a Holocaust. 6 million Jews gassed to death, 1.5 million children murdered, annihilated just 70 years ago. We have an obligation to speak out. You can't silence us. You can't tell the Prime Minister that if you speak out, you're going to ruin the relationship. So our ad came in response to that to say, all of us have a blind eye to genocide. We don't care enough about what happened in Rwanda, Srebrenica, Kosovo, right now in Darfur, Central African Republic. But Susan Rice is the national security advisor, and public officials have to be held to account. She can't turn a blind eye to genocide. Iran is threatening a genocide of the Jewish people all the time to annihilate Israel. How could the United States continue to negotiate with Iran without first demanding that they repudiate those genocidal threats?
Well, let's hold on for 1 sec here. Let's stay on the ad itself because the reaction here, we'll get to the rest of it here in a moment. Let's see. The American Jewish Committee called your ad revolting. The Anti-Defamation League said it was spurious and perverse. The Jewish Federation of North America called it outrageous. Josh Block, president of the Israel Project, said it was entirely inappropriate. And Marshall Whitman, spokesman for the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, said ad hominem attacks should have no place in our discourse. You are not being backed by one single person. Every Jew says it was absolutely wrong and it was the wrong thing for you to say. How do you feel about sitting on that island?
Well, think about this. First of all, I don't determine my principles and convictions by popularity and praise or by criticism and condemnation. My convictions come from within. But think about this. When, in the run-up to the Holocaust, if people had rattled the cage, if people had made noise, if people had created a sense of discomfort with Jews dying, and they probably wouldn't have died. Now, we are in a run-up to something bad happening. There may be a deal done with the government, which is the largest sponsor of terrorism around the world, and that has repeatedly threatened the Jews of Israel with complete annihilation. They're about to get a deal that would give them not only billions and billions of dollars released from frozen funds that could cause further international mayhem, but they may get a deal that gives them 6,500 centrifuges spinning, enriching uranium, and leaving them in a one-year breakout period to a nuclear bomb. Are we supposed to remain silent? Do you think I care about criticism in the face of that kind of risk? I am a nation that experienced genocide. Where is the condemnation, respectfully, of Susan Rice to have said that the Prime Minister can't even speak out?
Well, is it not fair to say, though, that while you're saying that she spoke out, she did not use the words genocide? I mean, how are you extrapolating genocide out of what she said? Because I think that's what a lot of people have a problem with. Criticize, but genocide was pretty harsh.
Well, read the ad. The ad is about a story written by Susan Rice's successor, Ambassador Samantha Power, who wrote in her 2002 Pulitzer Prize-winning book, A Problem from Hell, that in a meeting about the Rwandan genocide and how the United States government should respond to the hacking to death of 330 Africans per hour, Susan Rice famously said that if we call it a genocide, it might hurt democratic elections in the midterms of 1994. That was an outrageous statement. It was seen as an outrageous statement. And that's part of the historical record. What we said was that Susan Rice, having said that, should be extra sensitive to correct the record. If she has shown previous insensitivity to genocide, as exposed by her successor, Samantha Power, then she should be extra sensitive to a potential genocide of a nation that's already had one, the Holocaust. In my opinion, one Holocaust is probably enough. Now, let's get real here.
Okay, I got about 30 seconds, and then we'll take a break. Go, I'll give you 30 seconds.
Let's get real here. The issue is not whether I am doing an irritating ad. The issue is whether this administration will do a bad deal with Iran, and we have to allow the Prime Minister to at least speak. The administration can disagree with him, but why the objection to the speech?
All right, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about that specifically. Let's pause, come back, seek some answers on the rise also of global attacks on Jews and those who insist it must be kept in perspective. There are those who say that when you look at what is happening in Europe right now, you must realize exactly why people are going after the people of the Jewish communities. Is Judaism soon to be extinct in Europe? Even some believe that might happen. MidPoint continues. Well, it would seem on the surface to be a ridiculous statement, but has anti-Semitism risen to a level where Jews will one day be forced to make a decision about living in Europe under fear or being forced to leave for their lives? Let's welcome back Rabbi Shmuley Boteach for some answers on that and so much more. Before we get there, Rabbi, I do need to follow up on our conversation of a few minutes ago. All those different groups that I just pointed out that are basically slamming away at you for doing what you did. Also, I'm looking here, let's see, the Jerusalem Post Israel News, the Jewish Week, so many of the other publications over there, they are also criticizing you for this. If Susan Rice has a blind spot for genocide, and these people are out here hammering away at you for pointing it out, do you then believe that all of these groups also have a blind spot about genocide, and even they are refusing to admit what happened and what may happen again?
Well, as I said before, Ed, I think all of us have a blind spot to genocide. That's why so many genocides have taken place, because we look at someone else's suffering across the ocean, and as long as it doesn't affect our children, we turn a blind eye. No one cared that in Cambodia, 2.5, 3 million people were murdered, 6 million Jews in the Holocaust. Armenia, our government doesn't even recognize the Armenian genocide, let alone Srebrenica.
But why would
Rwanda,
all these Jewish groups, though, Rabbi?
I could go on.
Wait. Why would all the Jewish groups, though, specifically, because the Jewish people are the ones who were a victim of genocide, why would they then not be speaking out more forcefully about it and supporting you, in your opinion?
Well, you know, that's a very good question. Where was the condemnation of the remarks by Susan Rice that a mere speech by the Prime Minister, a mere speech, would destroy the U.S.-America relationship, destroy the fabric? Where was the condemnation of that? You mean we Americans don't believe in First Amendment rights? You mean we don't believe that a man can come, especially an ally, head of a very close ally, come to this country and speak? Why the insecurity about the speech? Listen, Susan Rice's comments were outrageous. Why wasn't there as much condemnation? You know, some people are looking to preserve access, as it were, etc. And to the extent that if we ever make mistakes, we're prepared to admit them. But right now, the key focus is Iran. Now, I am focused on Iran, which is why we took out that ad. Susan Rice, President Obama, they need to understand the concerns of the Jewish people and the Israeli government. They need to understand that Jews are being shot in Copenhagen, Jews are being shot in Paris, Jews are being shot in Brussels. I was just in Brussels a few days ago. We're tired of dead Jews. We're tired of Iran's threat against the Jews. We take this stuff seriously. So if we become a little bit irritable and we get in your face a little bit, you know, with all due respect, take us seriously. Don't say we're paranoid about the Iranian threat. You know, Yogi Berra famously said, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you. Now we have to get people to take the Iranian threat seriously. I'm the issue here. My ad is the issue, or the Prime Minister's speech, he may break protocol. Isn't Iran getting a nuclear bomb far more serious? No one wants to offend the president. No one wants to offend Susan Rice. But come on, why are you trying to silence Israel?
Well, why do you think that is, though? Because you're bringing up a very good point here. Because if all these groups, again, are not just like you said maybe sometimes we need to get in your face. Okay, so then why are these groups not getting in the face? Is it political? Are they protecting something? Because, again, I'm just going to follow along with what you said. If what the Prime Minister is doing is not a big deal, or it is a big deal to point out what's happening in Iran, why are all these Jewish groups not getting behind you and saying, absolutely right, we don't want it to happen again? Something's missing here.
Look, a lot of these groups that are condemning me have condemned the Prime Minister for arranging this speech, accepting the speech, I should say, by John Boehner. They've been just as critical or more critical of him. The ADL criticized the speech. J Street took out full-page ads against the Prime Minister in the New York Times, not against Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who's threatening a second Holocaust, not against President Rouhani of Iran, but against the Prime Minister of Israel. So a lot of these Jewish groups are actually attacking the Israeli Prime Minister. They're attacking him much more than me. You'd have to get them on your show to ask them, because I don't want to ascribe motivation. I will say that there's often a debate in our community, being that we're a small minority community that has experienced so much anti-Semitism, so much persecution, and is now seeing a global resurgence of that Jew hatred. There's often a debate of should we be tough and speak out, or should we rely more on others to protect. I happen to find myself in the former camp rather than the latter. I think when the Jews relied on the nations of the world to protect them during the Holocaust, the world kind of really let us down, because we all, as I said before, turned a blind eye to genocide. I think it's imperative that the Jewish community defend itself through the IDF in Israel and through being vocal and politically organized here in the United States. And that's the reason that I'm at AIPAC right now. Now, look, people don't have to agree with me. Those who condemn the ad and condemn me, I didn't flip out about it, because that's part of the discourse. It's called dialogue. It's called freedom of speech. Let the Prime Minister speak. I'm not attacking anyone who attacked me. Let them attack me.
I don't want this to seem flippant at all, but it seems like in many ways you're enjoying the discourse.
Oh, I'm not saying that at all. I'm enjoying being part of a democratic society where I'm allowed to speak. Susan Rice should not be saying the Prime Minister can't speak. That's outrageous. Every American citizen should have objected to that outrageous interview she gave on Charlie Rose, saying that the Prime Minister destroys the fabric of a relationship by simply speaking. That is outrageous. Free speech is what Thomas Jefferson fought for, what George Washington fought for. It's what Samuel Adams said that he was prepared to die for. We're going to start telling allies they can't come to Congress and speak?
Rabbi, unfortunately, I am all out of time, but I'll tell you what, you always manage to make your point, and you always stand on your point no matter what it is. You do stand behind it, and that is something to be admired no matter what the opinion is. Rabbi, thanks so much for joining us. I'll look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless you.
What does it say about a country where a theme park celebrates the use of guns and even encourages kids to get in on the action? It's a disease. We'll talk about that and much more when MidPoint continues.